Some new details on the $200 per month raise for Social Security beneficiaries. I have all the details and what you need to know right here in the video, so let's get right into it. All right, we are getting some new details on the recently announced new version of the $200 per month raise introduced by Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and a handful of other Democratic senators. I want to walk you through all the moving parts on this, as well as some of the concessions that are now being floated as far as how they can implement this $200 per month raise for millions of Social Security beneficiaries. Let's get into it and discuss all those details. However, really fast before we do, thank you so much for joining me. If you're new here or if you haven't done so yet, please make sure to subscribe by hitting the button right down below the video. I am your one and only daily advocate, and I'm very much dedicated to you and this community to continue doing all the research and breaking it all down into these short videos so that you can stay updated with what is actually going on right now, especially as it pertains to money, benefits, Social Security, retirement, SSDI, survivors, SSI, VA, RRB, seniors, older adults, and of course, people with disabilities, as well as any new piece of legislation, new bills, what the administration is talking about, the president, people in Congress, as well as money, benefits, programs, and so much more that I'm watching and covering right here in these videos every single day. So, thanks again for watching. I truly do appreciate it. Please make sure to subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet, and let's get into it and discuss what they are now saying about this $200 per month raise, or $2,400 across the entire year for millions of Social Security beneficiaries. All right, let's get into it and talk about all those details. All right, so one quick side note here. This is not the same piece of legislation that was introduced in March of 2020 by Chuck Schumer, Elizabeth Warren, and Ron Wyden. Like I've talked about in other videos, that one is gone, okay? However, we are talking about the new version that was introduced by Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, as well as a few other Democrats just a couple months ago. So, pretty interesting, right? It's kind of funny how they introduced it a couple years ago, nothing ever happened with it, and now sure enough, here they are back again, a different group of senators coming out with this new proposal. Either way, it doesn't really matter who introduces it. All we want to know is, when are you going to implement it, right? Well, we're starting to get some more details on what they're actually saying about this, and possibly some concessions that they are now floating out there right now to actually bring this into fruition. Now, here's the thing. This must go through the congressional process, as in it needs to get at least the 60 votes in in the Senate to get this thing through. So here's the thing. Yeah, as we all know here, just like we've witnessed with all these other pieces of legislation that have gone through, the Senate is usually the big hurdle when it comes down to getting anything passed, right? It's the 50-50 split, 50 Republicans, 50 Democrats, and they need to get 60 votes for the vast majority of pieces of legislation, unless, of course, it's a reconciliation bill. But in those events, they need 50 votes, but in this case, they would need 60. But here's what we're actually talking about now. So as I mentioned previously in other videos, there's multiple other things right now as far as pieces of legislation that are coming out as far as how they want to reform Social Security, raise benefits, increase solvency, as well as adjust the way that the annual cost of living adjustment is actually calculated. There's a whole variety of different pieces of legislation out there. Well, as of recently, since we've heard this new $200 per month raise come out and being introduced by Bernie Sanders and these other senators, they've also come out and said, okay, well, yeah, that might be good. It might be nice to raise benefits for individuals, but what is this going to do as far as, we're not going to be able to get the necessary votes we need? Can we possibly come together on some concessions? Well, here's what's interesting about it. We've also heard around the same amount of time that they've been talking about possibly raising the full retirement age up to possibly 68, 69, or possibly even 70 going forward. As of right now, the full retirement age is 67. That is the cap. Now, of course, some people do have a full retirement age of 66, 66 and 4 months, 66 and 6 months, 66 and 8 months, you know what I mean. But right now, the cap on the full retirement age for anybody born after 1960 is 67 years old. Well, here's one of the concessions that they're floating. Is some lawmakers are saying, yes, we would be open to this, but in conjunction with actually raising payroll taxes on Social Security, which again, they want to raise payroll taxes. As of right now, the cap is $147,000 that is taxable by Social Security. Any income over that is not taxable by Social Security anymore. Well, they want to raise that up to anybody earning over $250,000 would continue to receive those taxes going into Social Security and the trust fund to continue to actually send out more benefits benefits, increase solvency for roughly another 74 years or 75 years or so, out until essentially the end of the century, and then of course also implementing this $200 raise. Well, what they're now floating as well is that in the event of implementing this $200 per month raise, maybe if they actually raise the full retirement age at the same time to maybe 68, 69, or possibly even 70, which would prevent millions of people from drawing on benefits and ultimately increasing the solvency, this is what may actually be able to bring them into actually raising benefits by this $200 per month. So in this case, it's kind of like a little bit of a give and take. Now, I do know that a lot of you here in the community are either currently receiving benefits or you're getting very close to receiving benefits. Well, this wouldn't actually be a very, kind of a fair process, because once again, they'd be moving out the goalpost. But at the end of the day, it might actually lock in some people simply because generally they actually determine your full retirement age based on your year of birth. Well, obviously you can't go back and change your year of birth, right? So if you're somebody born in, say, like 1962, yes, it may push out your full retirement age beyond, say, 67. It might push it out to, say, 67 in maybe like 4 months or something. However they determine to do this. But again, it might push out the goalpost a little bit, but at the end of the day, if you were to lock in on your retirement benefits or Social Security benefits with a higher benefit of even another $200 per month, maybe at the end of the day, when you run all the numbers, it might actually come out to be like, hey, you're going to be way ahead from a financial standpoint and from a monthly benefit standpoint versus actually getting your benefits earlier at an amount that's, say, $200 less per month. Kind of get what I'm saying? So obviously, they need to thread the needle on this thing, and all the lawmakers, well, not all the lawmakers, but the vast majority of lawmakers need to work together on this thing and figure out a process that'll actually be sufficient to everybody, or at least enough senators and representatives in the House to get this through both chambers and ultimately on to the president. And then to see, will the president actually sign it? Well, based on what the president has said about Social Security, again, no action has really been taken out of all this, but the president has indicated that he wants to reform Social Security, raise benefits by $200 a month, increase the minimum benefit by 125%, all kinds of different things to the Social Security program. But we haven't really seen a whole lot of that coming out of the president so far. So with that being said, if it were to make it through Congress, as in the House of Representatives and the Senate, of course, the president would probably sign it, and if he didn't, well, then we've got a major issue on our hands, because that would not be consistent with what he's actually said, right? So anyway, when it comes down to this $200 raise, it does look a little bit encouraging, considering lawmakers are possibly even talking about it / maybe working together. Wait, what? Yeah, exactly. Congress working together. Those words don't go together in the same sentence these days, right? Not very often anyway. But anyway, at least they're discussing it and trying to figure out concessions on what they can do as far as a give and take, right? It's not just going to be a full-blown, okay, $200 per month raise, and that's it. We all agree. Highly doubt that's going to happen. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen that way. There's going to be some kind of give and take. Whether they raise the full retirement age up to 68, 69, or 70, possibly they keep Social Security taxes at the same rate that they currently are. Realistically, and again, I just want to throw this out there, I do not take political sides in my videos. But again, I want to be completely fair here and kind of lay out the situation as far as what people are currently saying right now. And again, this is not me taking political sides, but rather sharing with you some of the thoughts that are going on right now. Republicans do not want to raise taxes, right? We get it. That's fine. That's what they always say. Basically, that is kind of what their jam, right? They never want to raise taxes on anybody, essentially. Democrats want to raise taxes. That's what they love to do. Democrats love to raise taxes, and Republicans say, no way, we're not raising taxes anymore. So you can kind of see here the disagreement between the parties. But here's what's happening. Is even though Republicans do not want to raise taxes, Democrats do. Well, what is one way that they could get around this by actually implementing possibly a $200 per month raise, possibly increasing solvency, and how can they suffice everybody? Well, by kicking out the actual full retirement age would do exactly that. It wouldn't raise taxes, which would suffice for Republicans. It would not raise taxes, which would again not suffice Democrats. But at the same time, if it kicks out the full retirement age, that would possibly be sufficient for everybody. Everybody might be able to say, okay, fine, we're giving everybody a raise, which would be nice, but at the same time, we need to offer some concessions, which is we got to do something to make sure that the program doesn't go bust in like 5 years because all of a sudden everybody's getting more benefits and a higher benefit every single month. Kind of makes sense here? So that's the whole deal with Congress, is they always need to work together to figure out what everybody's going to support rather than just being one-sided. One-sided doesn't really work, especially with something like this, because Social Security cannot be reformed through reconciliation. It must be done bipartisan. So in that case, they have to work together. How can they do that? Well, you got to give and take. It's like a little, kind of like a little discussion here. They need to come together on all the different terms and say, okay, I'm willing to flex here. I'm willing to give in there. I'm not willing to flex here. I'm not willing to give in on this. And that's kind of what they're doing here with this. So anyway, it offers a little bit of encouragement. Hopefully they can get something done here. And again, I think another major factor here is going to be the midterm elections and how those turn out here in November of this year. So again, of course, as I do get more details, I will keep you posted on that. But a little glimmer of hope when it comes down to the $200 per month raise. Realistically, this is looking a little bit more promising than the one that we saw back about, however many months ago that was, back in early of 2020, from the last time we saw a $200 per month raise. So anyway, as I do get more details and any more discussion on this, benefits, raises, money benefits, anything else that I can possibly find out there for you, of course, I'll be right here for you breaking it all down. So again, please enjoy your day. Subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet. Share the video with your friends, family, social media, and go back and check out some of the other thousands of videos here on the channel. Until next time, enjoy your day, have a good one, and I'll catch you again later in the next